Hi, this is the Hobbyist. Thanks for being here. Today I'm going to be unboxing and trying out this artist watercolor set from Holbein, and this is their 12 color set in 15 ml. I'm really excited about this because this is my first watercolor set that comes in tubes. So let's open this. Holbein is a company from Japan and they have been around since the 1900s. It says here that they are using simple combination of the finest pigments and also gum arabic as their binder. And also it says contain no synthetic polymers and only use small amounts of surfactants in their watercolor. So what surfactants actually do is that it lessens the surface tensions or decreases the surface tension from the water. So when you splash the water, you can see that there's actually like beading happening there. And with surfactant, and it's actually good for watercolors, just a little bit of amount, because it removes the hard edges, or it makes the pigment also attached to the paper or whatever material you're painting on. Right, so here we have the 12 tubes. Right, I love that this is not made of plastic, because when you want to squeeze everything out in plastic, you can get the air coming back again, and it's just really frustrating. I have friends who have been using watercolors with plastic, and I've tried before also in oil and acrylic, the student grades, and that is constantly my frustration, that it's just really hard to take out what is left there when the tube is made of plastic. Right, so here there's the brochure and the snow. I'm actually expecting a swatch sample of colors, but it's okay. What we have here, just constantly flipping. All right, so this is very good. They actually have provided the information. Everything you need to know is in each label of the tube. So it has the reference number, the color index name. I guess that's the pigment details. They have the barcode, the opacity rating, the permanency rating. So this artist's watercolors, Holbein, is rating their light fast pigments with 3 stars being the highest, and 1 is the one that having fugitive colors. Okay, and the color name. Right, so we have Crimson Lake, Vermilion Hue, Yellow Ochre, Permanent Yellow Light, Permanent Green, Viridian Hue, Cobalt Blue Hue, Prussian Blue, Burnt Sienna, Burnt Umber, Ivory Black, and Chinese White. Right, so there's quite a lot of hue here, and that's not necessarily bad, because hue means that they have changed some of the ingredients in the pigment from the traditional ones. Okay, all right, let's do the swatches. I always say this thing, but I think it's very important that no matter how complete the information is given in the label or in the box, it's very important to do swatches, because for me, it's like having your first date with the watercolor. You get your first impressions, and you actually see the behavior of each of the colors, because even though they are of the same brand, they still behave differently because of the pigment included in it. Okay, so I'm just giving a dot there, trying to make sure like the same amount Let me just add more Crimson Lake. There we go. I like that the pigments are already appearing wet and creamy, which means that this is not an old stock. And even so, watercolors, they do re-wet. It's just a matter of how fast they do or how much water we have to put in. So now we're doing the cobalt blue hue. Ooh, that one. I think I dropped a lot. This is the Prussian blue. Also, the importance of swatching is that even though they have printed the supposedly color in a paper, or the label is like this, for burnt sienna, for example, when they are actually on paper, you find that it's not always the same case. It's just nice to test it for yourself. Like I said, it's like having that very important first date with a watercolor. Trying to get to know the pigment, your first impressions, how it behaves, and testing it. Also, you get to see if it's something for you. Are you compatible? Is it compatible with the paper and other materials that you're using? All right, so I'm going to use my current favorite brush, and this is as much as possible I try to buy travel brushes, the version, because I always bring my watercolors whenever I travel. It's for that purpose, and this is the Skoda Versatile 10. Alright, I'm going to speed up the video and then I'll let you know my thoughts afterwards. Okay, right, here it is. Oh, the first thing that I noticed is not just the easy activation, but instant activation. I guess that's one of the main difference between using the paint from a tube and the pans. So because it's wetter in the tube, they just easily activate, almost very instant. And like I said earlier, the viscosity, it's really uniform, creamy, and smooth. And as you can see here, the colors are very vibrant. And the light fastness rating here, I stand corrected. Earlier I said that the highest is 3 stars, so actually it's 4 for excellent. And the colors in this set are rated good to excellent in light fastness. And as you can see here as well, most of the colors are transparent and semi-transparent. There's actually one color that is rated opaque, and that is Chinese white, but even so, later on it's still transparent, and they are very liftable. As you can see here, I dry them out and try to rub it off, and even though some of the colors are said permanent or heavily staining, they are still very much liftable. I put a heavy paint on ivory black, and as you can see here, it's still very much liftable. Now let me just change this water and let's do the quick paint. For this quick test, I'm doing a scene from memory, which is Golden Hour, the sunset from Samila Beach. If you've seen my video trying out WhiteNights, I have painted the Songkla Mermaid. It's from the same location. This is one of my favorite spots to watch the sunset. Okie dokie, so I really enjoyed using this watercolor set, not just because this is my first artist watercolor in tubes, but because of the many reasons I mentioned earlier. the instant easy activation, the creaminess, the smoothness, the vibrancy of the colors, the light fast rating, the transparent, semi-transparent paint. And even though they are rated opaque like this one, um, it's still transparent and they are very liftable, and those are something good. And also, I tried this, I did this random stuff with the leftover paint. So you can see they blend really well, and dispersion is also good, granulation, and also what I noticed while mixing out the colors earlier, the paint with more than one pigment, even if you mix them all together heavily, they don't get muddy as much. So I think that's really something great. And for its price, this is 15 ml tube. It's actually really difficult to find this um, here in Thailand anymore. And in online, you can only find 5 ml. So they have this in 12, 18, 24, 30, and I think more until 108 or 180 colors in set, but they're all in 5 ml. But the reason why I got this, and I'm happy because I think this is the last set that they have in 15 ml, because in the long run, um, having 15 ml or larger tube is more economical. But um, if you're like me, who's just trying out, wanted to transition to tubes, you can try out the 5 ml, and this is also a good option, um, rather than jumping to the more expensive brands. um, well, you can also pick like the three primary colors and mix them up all together. But for me, this is just great for the budget, and I also did not want to get the lower end, just to try how it feels like using paint in tubes, because if the lower end usually have poor pigment as well, then the learning moment also will not, be for me, um, be so real in such a way that maybe I think the problem is with myself, but actually it might be on the watercolor that I'm using. So I really enjoyed the experience using this one. There's no downside. If there is, it's not with the watercolor. It's with me. So there's a learning curve, I guess, for me in using the tubes. I got so excited that I realized that when using pigments in tube, because they are wet and they are creamy and they are vibrant, not to say that the pans are not, but for the pans, you just need to work more to get the certain tone or intensity that you like. Here, it's easier to do that. So for me, it's easy to get carried away, as you can see in my painting here. This is not the best, and I there was a point that I feel like, oh, I ruined the painting. But in another, looking at it in another perspective, there's really no such thing as um, wasted effort, because I have learned something. So I guess I just need to know when to stop, because I just keep on like layering and adding, and it's just a lot of paint. And this paper is Canson, and I think I need to try this out in a better paper, perhaps maybe a 300 GSM. Um, yeah, so overall, um, I really like this paint, and this is a keeper. For personal ranking, this Holbein Artist Watercolor set, is it the new number one? Compared to DanielSmith, I have a video testing this out. I think DanielSmith will still be my number one choice, because everything is excellent about this watercolor set except for the price. But like I said, it's reasonable. It's expensive, but it's really, really good. And recently, this one arrived, the Aussie Red Gold in tubes. So now I am probably transitioning to more into getting tubes than half pans. We'll see, but I still love my pocket boxes for traveling. Number one is still DanielSmith. My number two would be, ta-da! I think this will be my new number two. Okay, um, because again, I feel like this one has more um, uniformity in viscosity, and they are just easier to manage compared to WhiteNights, which I struggled a lot with, because I feel for WhiteNights, the pigments, you really have to get to know each of them to see which one will work better. But maybe it's just me. I just prefer this. I think this is better than WhiteNights. Okay, so number one, DanielSmith. My new number two will be Holbein, and the third one will be WhiteNights for the artist grade watercolors. Right, so that's it. Thanks for watching.